We are full of concepts and we think we're living, but we're really conceptualizing.
Sea change when you go from being in your mind to being in your heart.
And the Course of Love was about discovering our true identity.
Okay, welcome everyone to our show today, Heart to Heart, how our Course of Love is changing our lives. So I'd love to welcome our guest today from Dallas, Texas. Thank you for joining us. This is Cheryl Andrea. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much. Honored to have you with us.
I'm very honored to be. Thank you, Lynn. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah, so just to get started, did you want to share maybe just a little bit about your personal journey before you discovered A Course of Love?
So before A Course of Love, I had studied A Course in Miracles.
Okay.
And I first discovered A Course in Miracles back in 1990, maybe 2 or 3. And I was a brand new mom. And it was my firstborn son. And I was in my 20s. And I thought, something's not quite right. What am I missing? And that's how I found A Course in Miracles. And then from A Course in Miracles, I started practicing, that awareness and that level of awareness and really looking at, but something still wasn't fitting right because I was really wanting more. I was wanting deeper. I was wanting something that connected more. And then that's when A Course of Love arrived. So my background really before A Course of Love was perhaps more intuitive than the average person, but more because I didn't have a lot of social conditioning as a child and I didn't have any religious conditioning. So I think in a way, intuitively, I sort of knew these were truths. And A Course in Miracles taught me a lot of that. It was validating, I guess. And then I kept searching. And so it was really more about A Course of Love. It was still a search. Where is it? I know something more. I know there's something more. Where is it? It was that sort of feeling that was in there. So daily living was, practicing A Course in Miracles, but I was really still lacking something.
Yeah, you felt something was still missing. A lot of people say that, because, it came at the right time, the Course in Miracles, and I started in the 90s too, and kind of like went on and off and started back again. But yeah, it's like it was right for the time, and then something else came that was it felt like for me at least, the heart was missing. The heart part was the part that was really I needed more energy and focus on. So anyway, not to take up the whole interview, but did you want to share a little bit about how you discovered A Course of Love, like when you discovered it?
It was a few years ago.
Okay.
And which really, if you think about it, that was 25 years or so that I spent with the awareness of A Course in Miracles. And I kept coming back to it, but it still was missing something. And I made a decision to close a 13,000 square foot spiritual center where I was producing my events and my classes, and we had a retail store and some other things in it. I decided to close that down. I decided to end 5 key relationships in my life, including get a divorce. And I thought, okay, this is a major basically a rewrite, and it was the 3rd one of my lifetime where I deliberately chose to completely shift directions. And then it was within maybe 30 days of that decision that A Course of Love showed up.
Oh, wow. So ending 5 major relationships, including a divorce.
Yes.
And then within 30 days, boom, the space was created. So how did you discover it? Did somebody give it to you, or you just saw it? Oh, somebody gave it to you. It was a gift.
Yes.
And you didn't even know what it was, right?
And when she gave it to me, she's also the person who first originally gifted me A Course in Miracles.
Oh, wow.
So
what a nice friend.
But when you think of A Course of Love, and you think about A Course in Miracles,
Mm-hmm.
my favorite parts of either of the books are about the definition of a miracle.
Oh, okay.
I really, really love the definition, because the truest definition, and I know I'm paraphrasing here, the truest definition that really resonated with me was that a miracle is simply love.
Oh, yeah.
I just look at that and I think
very simple.
it's so simple and it's so profound.
Yeah.
If you think
Beautiful.
about at the root of every single miracle is love.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Yeah.
think, well, if that's the case, then that means that we could literally create miracles
Uh-huh.
all day, every day, if we chose to.
Yeah. That's that shift from fear to love. Yeah. That's it. And when you're in that space, yeah, it does seem like everything flows and like miracles do happen.
And to
Yeah.
me, that is what A Course of Love is.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It is always love as the answer. And I'll say this, if I may, I'll share a very brief story.
Mm-hmm.
It changed me, and I think that this is the resounding message that I got from A Course of Love
Mm-hmm.
many years after this experience. So I was divorcing,
Mm-hmm.
and I sat up in the middle of the night. I was uncertain if I was actually going to divorce. I had 2 children,
Mm-hmm.
and I was uncertain, really uncomfortable, and I was angry, and I was feeling pain in my heart, and I didn't want a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that I had to make that decision. So I sat up in the middle of the night and I said to God, I said, I just don't understand. What else could I do? I've done everything I know how to do. And the answer that I got across the board, 100%, they would love. They would offer love. And I thought
Wow.
about that the rest of the night. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And I realized I was holding judgment of my husband. I was holding anger. I was holding pain.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't loving.
Yeah.
I wasn't being loving. I was in pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made the decision that I was still going to divorce, but I was going to clean that up and I was going to love him anyway. And that's what I've done. He's my best friend, and we've been a part of each other's lives for 30 years. We married each other 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 2 children, one from each of our marriages. This was the second time I was divorcing him. And I was in so much pain about it. And
Wow.
and they gave me the answer, Lynn. They said,
Mm-hmm.
love. That's what we
Mhm.
would do. And that is what A Course of Love taught me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Is there like a favorite line or a passage that you wanted to share right now, or not really?
I don't have my
Just
book in front of me.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, no problem. I was thinking like maybe that similarly too is sort of like what really speaks to me a lot in the Course of Love is this whole thing with acceptance. The acceptance of what is. And there's a line in one of the days in the 40 days that says that denial of what is the cause of separation. It doesn't mean you can't feel your feelings and get angry and upset or whatever it is that needs to come up into the light of awareness and pass through. But beyond that, there's that knowing that there's love, there's unity, there's God, and that we're really always safe no matter what. I was just wondering if any of that spoke to you, like with the love, like, after 2 times, like, it was like you just accepted him for who he was without putting an interpretation on it, sort of type thing.
Lynn, that's a really good point, because one thing that I took away from my experiences over the years was, and what allows me to be best friends with him, is because I realized when I was divorced from him the first time,
Mm-hmm.
we were divorced for 6 years. And I said, we went through some pretty hellacious times at that time where we couldn't even communicate. It's just anger. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and we got past that. And I realized that it didn't matter if I was married to him or divorced from him. It didn't matter if he died tomorrow and wasn't here anymore. I was still having a relationship with who I was believing he is. So it's really not about the other person. It's about what's going on inside of us. And what was going on inside of me was an identification with him being my husband or later my ex. And each of those identifications, one says you can spend time with him and love him and accept him. And the other one says, oh, he's your ex. You shouldn't have anything to do with him. You see, those were limiting. I didn't believe in either of those.
Right.
And so I was left with the decision to just love him. And that's what I chose.
Yeah, that's the whole new paradigm. Yeah, the old paradigm is like, it's like it's a condition. There's so much conditioning and programming. It's like, I have an ex. Oh, I can't be with that ex, or I can't do this, and it's not right to do this, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, who cares? I mean, if you feel love for somebody, it doesn't really matter what the form of the relationship is.
I think that's where a lot of us struggle. And I see that because I think what we do is we are so programmed by our ways that we've conditioned the next generation every time to seek outside of themselves for that gratification or for the validation or for their worth or for whatever. They're seeking outside instead of inside. Yeah. We've not properly been taught how to love ourselves or to honor ourselves. We're told it's narcissistic or it's self-centered or it's selfish.
Anita Murjani's book, Dying to Be Me, that was her whole revelation that she came to. She was Indian and raised in an Indian family, and it was so cultural. Like, it's like a caste system over there. You get married, the woman is, they find you a husband, and you're told to get married and have kids, and you have to do this and this, and it's just role playing. And she said she just became a people pleaser. That's all she was doing. She was not honoring and loving herself. And that's the main message that she got when she was on her deathbed and had her, out of body experience when she was dying of lymphoma. And, it's interesting too, Brene Brown says in her research, she found that the most compassionate people were the most boundaried.
Yes, I do agree with you on that. I think that is a fantastic discovery because like you just described, I think there's some real importance here for us to acknowledge in that statement that a boundary is so often thought of as wrong and that you're pushing someone away because you're saying this is my line. But the truth of the matter is, if you flip it around and you really understand what's happening, the spirit is saying, I know the truth and I'm willing to stand in that truth and remember who I am. So compassion is first compassion for yourself because you love and honor yourself.
I know.
To say no, thank you. I have a thing that I say to my clients oftentimes, and I say, just because someone invited you to dance to that song doesn't mean you have to say yes.
I think we're kind of running up on our time. I thought maybe, it's been so much fun, Cheryl. But my last question I usually ask everyone is, do you have any suggestions, like words of wisdom or something, like for a person like brand new coming to A Course of Love? Just any advice from how you went through it or anything?
I would say, if I could say one thing about A Course of Love, and encourage others to open the book and read, I would say to them to remember themselves without any expectations, with an open heart.
Oh, beautiful.
And an open mind. Just read. Be present.
And it's like it's a bypass of the mind, really. And it
is.
Enters the heart. But really the wholeheartedness is like the center to where the heart and the mind actually join. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, that beautiful place right here where we really know the truth.
And you can feel it too. You can feel the inner resonance. You can feel it. And it's like, yeah, thank you so much for taking your time out. And I just wanted to throw out a big shout out to all our viewers out there. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lynn. Much love to everyone.